which of Allah's favors can we deny? Above all creatures He chose us to be high. To Him we belong, to Him is our return. Life in this world is only a sojourn. To the angels He commanded that man be respected. Shaitan he did not, and so was he rejected. Compared to the angels, we are but clay. As long as Allah we obey, we'll not go.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to our show Islamic Law Today. And as usual, I would like to welcome Professor Muhammad Naim Saie. Thank you for being with us. Professor Muhammad Naim Saie is a permanent member in the Fatwa Committee in North America, and he is a professor in several American universities in America. Professor Muhammad, in the previous episode, we were talking about the moon sighting and the disputes between some Muslims. Sometimes in the same household you find members are fasting Ramadan. They start Ramadan in one day, and others start Ramadan in a different day. According to their point of view, some of them wants to follow Saudi Arabia, for example. Some of them wants to follow the country that they are living in, and so on. And we talked, and you talked about the moon sighting and the differences, and how the Islam manage and solve this problem. Let me ask you, if I want, for example, as a regular person, a regular Muslim somewhere in this earth, wants to have a moon sight to catch when exactly Ramadan or the beginning of any month, how I can watch or look for the moon or the crescent, when, how it will look like, when is the best time to, how to see it, what kind of devices that I needed.
Yes. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. اللهم يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك سبحانك لا نحصي ثناء عليك أنت كما أثنيت على نفسك. اللهم إنا نحمدك حمدا يوافي نعمك ويدفع نقمك ويكافئ مزيدك. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا من لدنك علما برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. نسألك اللهم الإخلاص في النية والقول والعمل. اللهم فرج الهم عنا وعن المهمومين.
آمين.
ونفس الكرب عنا وعن المكروبين، واقض الدين عنا وعن المدينين، وفك أسر المأسورين، وأحسن خلاص المسجونين، وتقبل من قضى في سبيلك وابتغاء مرضاتك شهيدا يا رب العالمين، واجعله في عليين. اللهم إني أسألك أن ترفع البلاء عن أمة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم لا تعاملنا بذنوبنا ولا بسيئات أعمالنا، عاملنا بلطفك، عاملنا بفضلك ورحمتك. اللهم أري هذه الأمة الحق حقا وارزقها اتباعه، وأرها الباطل باطلا وارزقها اجتنابه. ألهمها رشدها واستعملها صالحة يا رب العالمين، واجمعها على كتاب ربها وسنة نبيها صلى الله عليه وسلم. أعلي رايات الإيمان والتوحيد، ونكس رايات الكفر والشرك والضلال يا رب العالمين. من أراد بهذا الإسلام والمسلمين خيرا فوفقه إلى كل خير، من أراد بهم غير ذلك فخذه أخذ عزيز مقتدر. اللهم شتت شمله وفرغ جمعه واجعل دائرة السوء عليه يا رب العالمين. اللهم أهلنا لخدمة دينك وشريعتك، واجعلنا سفراء لهذا الدين أينما ذهبنا وأينما حللنا، بالكلمة الطيبة والدعوة الصالحة والحكمة والموعظة الحسنة. آمين اللهم آمين.
آمين.
The issue of the moon sighting still taking a big room and big place in a Muslim mind every year, as we said in the other episode. And as we said in the other episode, is unfortunately, this is what is going on with the Muslims. And as a maybe a result or the impact of backward ummah, backward nation, not just the Muslim nation right now, any backward ummah, all they have these symptoms. When you are seeing such a nation is full of argument, full with debate, full with differences, dispute and conflict, this impact of this backward nation, modern and maybe civilized nation, they don't have such a big time for many secondary issues. They are targeting big issues. They are leaving big room for secondary issues, but they are dealing with it with the status they deserve. And when you are seeing such ummah like Islam, the nation of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this modern time, just disregarding its rule, disregarding its leadership, disregarding its mission, real mission in this life, disregarding its history, and just keep fighting and arguing and having this dispute and conflict every year. And instead of making Ramadan, the month of Ramadan, the holy month of Ramadan, as an opportunity to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to strengthen our relationship with each other, we are doing the opposite. And is it not the time to remember our big and noble generation on the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how they were dealing with this issue, and after the Prophet passed away sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how the other generation they have dealt with this issue. They were going from place to other place, from country to other country, from peninsula to other peninsula, to open the road, open the gate for mankind to be introduced to this Islam, just for this high gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When they were fasting, they were performing Hajj, they were doing all this worship of action of worship Allah has commanded them to do, but at the same time with a very strong and very beautiful understanding to the nature of this act of worshipping. In our time we need to go back to the same spirit, the same understanding, the same practice. Ramadan should not be issue of conflict, should not make any Ramadanic issue as a reason or excuse for our conflict, our differences, or maybe our sickness. وَلَا حَوْلَ وَلَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. So again and again we are going to say this, and we have to say this. Moon sighting is very simple. As he said sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he said something alayhi sallam, because he is the seal of the whole Prophet and messengers, peace be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he knows that this deen is to stay, to last forever, to the day of judgment. He's not addressing his word to his companion only. He knows, because he is the last Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وَأَرْسَلْنَاكَ لِلنَّاسِ كَافَّةً, not just for the people of our peninsula. He's been sent for all mankind. And he knows that sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When he is saying, don't perform, don't observe your fasting, don't start your fasting till you see the crescent. And don't break your fasting, don't finish your fasting till you see the crescent. Otherwise, you continue the month 30 days. He was talking in Arabic language. The people who were listening to him, they were Arab. They know what he's talking about, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yes. And one of the key of understanding and being in the field of Islamic law, to give a respect to the Sahaba, understanding and practice. One of the very fundamental condition for someone to be in the field of Islamic law. He cannot disregard the Sahaba understanding to the verse of Allah, to the saying of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the two main sources in Islam. He has to consider how the Sahaba they understood this address, this saying of the Prophet alayhi wasallam, and how they practice it later on. If you found all of them, they have taken this hadith as understanding of it and as a practice of it, the way we have explained the other episode, it has to be a vision, it has to be a naked eye. You are trying to locate, you are trying to sight the crescent of the new month, the month of Ramadan, by a very simple way. You go to this location according to your place, your country, and you go to the high place. You are able to clear the horizon where the sunset should be, and you be there before the sunset, like 1 hour and a half, 1 hour at least, and you try to watch where the last maybe line of the horizon where the sun is going to sit down, and the crescent will start as if that he is rising from the sunset position, very thin, and will start very big but very thin, and the longer you are waiting, and he is going to be like smaller. The further he goes in the sky, he will go smaller and smaller. So you have to be very specific and very careful when you are sighting the moon. Did anyone see it? Of course. Hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands, they have seen the crescent of Ramadan. 14th century ago, the crescent of Ramadan was being sighted by hundreds and thousands and millions of Muslims. I did see it myself. I cannot count how many times in America, North America. Yes, we have seen this, not just myself. I was with some group. Sometimes with 2 or 3, sometimes with one person, but that was seen. So we have seen the crescent of Ramadan. We declare that we swear by God that we have witnessed the moon sighting of Ramadan, and other witness to support what you are saying, and then we declare that tomorrow is the first day of Ramadan. We did go to that place, we did not see the moon, we were not able to see the moon for any reason. And no one, as we said the other episode, to consider the United States of America as one country, or maybe Egypt, or maybe Syria. No one in Syria, no one in Egypt, no one in Libya, no one in Sudan, or maybe Tunisia or Morocco have seen the moon or the crescent of Ramadan. So we told everyone that no one have sighted the moon. In that case, as he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, very simple, continue the month of Shawwal 30 days. Now we are in Ramadan, we have sighted the moon, we started Ramadan. How to finish Ramadan and start the Eid, to sight the crescent of Shawwal, the same story. We sighted the moon of Shawwal, that means tomorrow is the first day of Shawwal, that means tomorrow is Eid al-Fitr. The first day of Eid al-Fitr. We did not see it, that means we continue Ramadan 30. Very simple, very simple. And this simplicity is not just in the issue of moon sighting or Ramadan moon sighting. The simplicity of Islam is everywhere, in every part of this deen, because it's been meant to be this way. To complicate the issue and to make it very hard, it is not the part of this Islam. Make it very simple. When he made that statement, ﷺ, the first impression you have, he was talking to his followers, his companion, and he's talking to us in this modern time. لا تصوموا حتى تروا الهلال ولا تفطروا حتى تروا الهلال فإن غم عليكم, different narration that غبي عليكم or غبي عليكم, continue the month 30 days. Don't start your fast till you see the moon. Don't break your fast till you see the moon. Otherwise, continue 30 days. Very simple and very easy to follow. That's what the Sahaba understood. This is the Sahaba, what they practiced. The first generation, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, till we reach our modern time, till we start to hear about some people calling for relying on calculations and some other scientific issues. We are not in the position to deny scientific tools.
Yeah, that was my next question.
Because Muslims, they were the masters of sciences when Europe was in the depth of the darkness, and they're still fasting according to this very simple statement from the Prophet ﷺ.
So basically, even though that the Muslims had these calculations and they knew about it, but still they follow the instructions of Prophet Muhammad that they have to watch the moon with their naked eyes. We will take this as a point. We'll go for a break, and inshallah we'll come back. So please stay with us.
Inshallah.
Which of Allah's favors can we deny? Above all creatures, He chose us to be high.
Clear the mist from what? From Islamic terms to represent the words of a language using the alphabet of another language. For our purpose, it is representing Arabic words using the Latin or the Roman alphabet. By arkan al-salah, we mean the integrals of prayer, the essential components of prayer. How many do you think these are? Should a Muslim pay zakah on any amount of money he has? The answer is no. One of the related items to fasting is i'tikaf. Ihram simply means entering the state of sanctity. We started dealing with some fiqhi terms or some terms dealing with fiqh or jurisprudence.
The entire staff at Huda would like to wish you a wonderful and blessed Ramadan.
Which of Allah's favors can we deny? Above all creatures, He chose us to be high.
Welcome back. Professor Muhammad, before going to the break, you were talking about that even though that the Muslims had the knowledge of calculation to know when exactly it will be the moon sighting and when exactly the crescent will start, but they continuously watch the moon sight with their naked eyes. Now, according to the Islamic point of view, is it permissible, and we spoke about this in the last episode, is it permissible if one country says that we saw the moon, the rest of the countries follow this country, or it has to be different? If you can please briefly to remind our viewers about this point.
As we said in the other episode that we have a three school of thought in this issue. First school of thought, or maybe first opinion, if the moon was sighted in one country, every Muslim has to follow this moon sighting. The second opinion, that every country does have its own moon sighting. The third one, closed countries, they fast, they follow one moon sighting, and far countries they start with their own moon sighting. Now, these three opinions was existing on the time of the Sahaba, radiallahu anhu ardahum. We have the very authentic hadith in Al-Bukhari and other sources when Sayyidah Salma was sending her servant to Sham, and in Ramadan time, and Sayyidina Muawiyah was in Damascus, as he was the capital of the Khilafah at that time, and she was in the Medina Munawwara. He sent him for such a thing to do for her, and he observed Ramadan in Damascus, and he finished his mission, and he came back to Al-Madinah when he was meeting with Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, and he was asking him, when did you start? You were still fasting. When did you start Ramadan? He said, we started Friday. They said, we started Saturday. Are you not going to follow the people of Damascus, because they have sighted the moon in such that day, different than your day? Ibn Abbas replied by saying, no, this is the way we've been commanded to do. هكذا أمرنا. That means that everyone has his own moon sighting. But Muslim scholars, they did not take from that hadith that it is like must, it's like clear cut, that everyone has his own moon sighting. But this is like reflecting the differences among the Sahaba themselves about this issue. It is like option. It is like a big room for these three opinions. Because the hadith, when he said لا تصوموا حتى ولا تفطروا حتى, he was addressing عليه الصلاة والسلام on his time the Sahaba. Somebody said that he was addressing the Sahaba and everyone. That means if anyone sighted the moon in his country, everyone has to follow this moon sighting.
Yes.
It is very, logic to suggest that it does carry that option. It can be carrying this option, or this maybe meaning. When someone said no, when he said لا تصوموا حتى, he's addressing everyone individually, every country individually. It does carry at the same time that meaning. So these three opinions, you could find these three opinions on the statement of the Prophet itself, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because this is one of the way of the reflecting the comprehensive language of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. To carry, as we said in the other episode, that the same verse, the same saying, carries a big room for argument for the different opinions. So these three opinions were existing, and the Sahaba and the followers and others, they were holding to these three opinions, and every one of them were adopting one of these three opinions. Till our time, we cannot enforce someone unless this one is like the ruler. The only ruler is able to adopt one of these three opinions. Suppose that we are going back, inshallah we'll go back to that, inshallah. One day, as Muslim used to be like one big state, different country, just one state, like United States of America.
Yes.
Different state, one country.
Yes.
Muslim used to be different countries, one state, and the Muslim ruler is ruling all these states under one country.
Yes.
Or all these countries are under one state, and he is authorized by Islam to tell everyone, if we have seen the moon of Ramadan in Kazakhstan, or maybe in Pakistan, or maybe in Morocco, every Muslim under this state has to follow that moon sighting. He has that authority. Before that happens, we are in different countries, different authorities. In the United States of America, they are one country, Britain one country, maybe Syria one country, and Lebanon one country, all these different countries. So how to enforce Muslims to follow one moon sighting? Muslims, they have they've been gathered in one of the assemblies, Muslim jurist assemblies in different places within the last 10 years, to come with the suggestions and decision to unite the Muslims fasting and celebrating the Eid. But who is able to enforce this decision of the Muslim scholars, Muslim jurists, to have till you have the Muslim authority, the Muslim ruler? But we have to say that Muslim scholars long time ago, when they talk about these three opinions, they said in the same time, like Imam Ibn Abdul Barr al-Maliki, he said that it is like unanimous opinion among Muslim scholars that very far countries, they cannot start their fasting by following one moon sighting, unless it comes like this way. It happens like they have one moon sighting in one day. But he was talking about if like people in Kazakhstan, they sighted the moon, and people in Morocco did not sight the moon. They did not see the moon. So according to the Ibn Abdul Barr statement, he said people of Morocco, they cannot follow the moon sighting of Kazakhstan because it's too far.
I see.
And it's like obviously to say or to suggest that if people in Syria or maybe in Makkah al-Mukarramah, they were sighting the moon, people in America, they have to follow this moon sighting. So that brings us to the issue of, they call it right now, global moon sighting.
I see.
Global moon sighting. But I don't adopt that opinion.
I see. Don't you think that calculations and to calculate when exactly the crescent will start, that might unify the Muslims around the globe? And at the same time, don't you think that when we talk about that each country has its own moon sighting, that's because some people will say that because the 14 centuries ago we didn't have communication, they didn't have telephone that they can tell them by the time that the one person will travel to the other city, it will take days. So the communications now solve this problem. So once it's seen in Damascus, then immediately the one in Jordan will know it eventually at the same moment. Don't you think that calculation might solve this problem and unify the whole
SubhanAllah, again and again, if you'd like to target the issue of unity, Muslim unity, and say, well, I have to search for a tool to unite Muslims, let them start their fasting in one day and finish their fasting in one day, celebrate their Eid in one day. It's very simple, very easy. Adopt the opinion saying that if any country sighted the moon, everyone should follow that sighting. So you don't have to rely on calculations, because that opinion by itself is able to unite Muslims if they have the will, if they have the intention, if they have the authority to that unity. So you are able to find the reason of unity, tool of unity among these three opinions were included by the Prophet's statement, and these other miraculous, scene of the Prophet language, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His statement, very simple, very comprehensive, does carry all these opinions and always does have all these meanings and is able to unite Muslims if they are willing to be united. But what is sometimes not just make you be amazed by this maybe thought, sometimes it does hurt you when someone talk about unity, Muslim unity. It's not like isn't it something to bring some strange feelings to you, or bring some like weird opinions sometimes when you are suggesting let us unite Muslims by fasting one day, when we are ununited, when we are divided, and when the Muslims were united and divided, they were not talking about this issue. As if they were united under one state, as if they were united by their goals, by their aims, by their leadership, by their civilization, by their good understanding and practicing to this Islam. They were united. And they were united physically, politically, and Islamically. Now when we are really divided, ummah, nation, we are calling for unity through a very little issue of the moon sighting. This is something to bring some kind of big questions. I'm saying and always calling for the Muslim scholars, instead of calling Muslims to be united through the moon sighting, call them to be united under one leadership, under one understanding, under one practice of Islam. So to bring back our dignity, bring back our capability to deliver the happiness to others, but not because we are backward ummah, divided ummah. We did not find any way to unite ourselves but to go to the moon sighting.
Subhanallah. Now some people adopt in Egypt and so in America and Europe, they say we will follow whenever Saudi Arabia decide or say or announce the moon sighting. And they choose Saudi Arabia particularly, not their country, not anywhere else, but Saudi Arabia. Is that related to the crescent of the Hijjah, or even though that they are talking about the crescent of Ramadan? Why they adopt Saudi Arabia, the crescent of Saudi Arabia? They will follow it regardless any other country.
I think because they consider it as al-Qura, the mother of the whole maybe countries and states. It's like respect.
Or because it's a must to follow Saudi Arabia when it comes to Eid al-Adha.
No. This is a different issue. We don't have any proof or evidence from Islamic law to suggest that if the moon sighting was seen in Mecca or Medina, that everyone has to follow this. That does not exist. Does not exist.
Does not exist?
No. This definitely does not exist.
Even though that they say, why then, this is their excuse, why then we have to follow Saudi Arabia when it comes to Eid al-Adha?
Good question. Always you bring good questions.
Jazakallah khair.
Because this is, in the same time, some people are arguing about telling them that we have to follow the moon sighting by naked eye, by real vision. And they bring that question, why you are in Ramadan suggesting that we have to follow the moon sighting by naked eye, and you reject the calculation, and you are enforcing everyone to follow the vision or the moon sighting of people of Mecca in Al-Hajj, in pilgrimage.
Yes.
Is it that you are manipulating and you have double standard here?
Yes.
Our answer is very simple, but very strong at the same time. There's big difference between moon or the crescent of Ramadan and the crescent of the Hijjah. Big difference between Ramadan and the pilgrimage. What is the big difference here? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded us to start fasting Ramadan relying on the moon sighting. As if that the reason from Islamic law point of view, they call it al-illah, the reason of starting your fasting is the moon sighting.
Yes.
So it is time. It is time. So you are related to the time. Your fasting is connected with the time, or your fasting is conditioned by the time. In Al-Hajj, pilgrimage, Allah commanded us to make Hajj if you are able to make Hajj one time alive.
Yes.
But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make that pilgrimage on that obligatory issue in Islam not related to time only, but related to time and place.
Okay.
So in Hajj, we cannot make Hajj in Indonesia.
Yes.
We can fast in Indonesia. We cannot make Hajj in Morocco,
Yes.
in Cordoba. But we can fast in Cordoba. We cannot make Hajj in Washington, D.C., but we can fast in Washington, D.C. So Ramadan is conditioned by time. The reason of it is time, the moon sighting,
Yes.
how to start the month, the lunar calendar of Muslim, by time. But Hajj is conditioned by time and place. So because every Muslim has to follow the people of Al-Hajj, so we have to follow them in their sighting to the moon of Dhul Hijjah. That's why if they stand on Arafah, the night of Dhul Hijjah, like Friday, everyone in this globe has to share them in that standing on Arafah by fasting the day of Arafah.
Yes.
They are standing on Arafah in Al-Hajj. We are fasting the day of Arafah everywhere. So fasting again and again. We're able to fast Arafah, the day of Arafah, anywhere. But we are not able to stand on Arafah but in Arafah.
I see.
So if they stand on Arafah, the night of the Hijjah on a Friday or maybe Saturday or Thursday, that means this is the night of the Hijjah. This is Wuquf Arafah. That means next day is the Eid of Al-Adha. That means everyone has to celebrate Al-Adha in the same day the people of Al-Hajj has declared, because it is a place, it is one place for Al-Hajj, and it is different time, different places for fasting. So this is the big difference between Ramadan and Al-Hajj. And by the way, subhanAllah, we are very disturbed by some people in Europe and some people in the United States of America when they are refusing this fact, refusing this historical fact and Islamic law fact, and they are still insisting that they have to rely on their own moon sighting even in the time of Al-Hajj. So they have their own Eid al-Adha celebration. They have their own Arafah celebration or day of Arafah. And I talk about this issue maybe in that book.
Yes.
If you just this is the book of Al-Jami'.
Yes.
I did mention this issue, the issue of Ramadan and the moon sighting. I clarified the issue of the difference between Ramadan and Al-Hajj. And one of the things I said, if he said, alayhi salatu wassalam, that Siyam Yawmi Arafah, he was insisting, encouraging us to fast the day of Arafah. And we are asking, which day of Arafah, Ya Rasulullah? Which day of Arafah, Ya Rasulullah? The day of Arafah of Pakistan, or the day of Arafah of India, or the day of Arafah of Syria, or maybe Indonesia, or maybe Malaysia, or which day? He said, Yawm Arafah. And he knows that Arafah is Arafah. The place, call it Arafah. This is the place where the people they are doing the Hajj, performing the Hajj. That means he is telling us, follow the people of Arafah. People of Al-Hajj, inshallah.
Inshallah Rabbil Alameen. We will go for a quick break. Inshallah, we'll come back to continue this very important issue about Ramadan. So please stay with us.
Which of Allah's favors can we deny? Above all creatures, He chose us to be high.
Once we talk about tolerance, we need to have this link between life after death and this life, and how tolerance fits into this equation.
First one is equal retribution. The second one would be to suppress your anger. The third one is to clear your heart from any hard feelings.
How did the Prophet and his companions celebrate Eid?
It seems that it's a hot topic for the media and for some politicians everywhere.
In this book, the professor solved the acts of violence on the major religions in the world, includes Islam, Judaism, Christianity, Buddhism, and other religions, and showed that every act of violence has motives behind it.
What are some helpful tips for people? A lot of people live in the West, a lot of Muslims live in the West. They deal with Christians a lot. What's the easiest way of talking to Christians about Jesus?
Within the framework of being the cleanest religion, the cleanest jurisprudence, and in the meantime, the kindest religion to animals.
Something which is, I think, very direly needed by the youth, which is staying firm on the truth.
The entire staff at Huda would like to wish you a wonderful and blessed Ramadan.
Which of Allah's favors can we deny? Above all creatures, He chose us to be high.
Welcome back. Professor Muhammad, before going to the break, you were talking about the differences between the crescent of Ramadan and the crescent of Arafah, or the Dhul Hijjah. And you mentioned that the crescent of Ramadan is related to the time
of fasting Ramadan.
Of fasting Ramadan is related to the time, and the Hilal or the crescent of Dhul Hijjah is related to a place and a time at the same time, because it's related to the place itself of Mecca, because of the pilgrimage.
The Hajj itself relates to the time and a place.
This is true. Now let's talk about something in Ramadan that cause a lot of problems, especially in the West, which is Taraweeh. Some people says it's 8 rak'ah, some people says it's 20 rak'ah, some people says it's mandatory, some people says it's not mandatory. How we can solve this problem?
First of all, we have to remind everyone, inshallah ta'ala, this is one of the Islamic law fact, and this is unanimously among Muslim scholars belief that Taraweeh, they call it Taraweeh in Ramadan. They don't call it Taraweeh out of Ramadan.
Okay.
But out of Ramadan or in Ramadan, it is actually, originally, it is Qiyamul Layl. It's when you are praying after Isha.
The night prayer.
The night prayer.
Yeah.
If you pray after the Isha, after you pray the Isha, 2 rak'ah, or 4 rak'ah, or 6 rak'ah, this is Qiyamul Layl. Now, some people, they are differentiating between Qiyam and Tahajjud. Some, they said that Tahajjud, when you are sleeping after Isha, after you pray Isha, you sleep, and then you wake up, and then you pray. This is Tahajjud. If you pray after Isha without sleeping, this is called Qiyam. It's like different kind of maybe definition. But in reality, it is a prayer being practiced or performed after the Isha prayer. So this originally Qiyam Layl. Now, because he said, من قام رمضان إيمانا واحتسابا وكان يقوم الليل حتى تفطر قدماه عليه الصلاة والسلام. So Qiyam Layl is the same prayer, whether you are praying it before Ramadan, out of Ramadan, or inside Ramadan. But they call it Tarawih because they used to sit for a little while at a shorter break after 4 rak'ah to take like some kind of rest, so they are able to be more energized for the next maybe 2 or 4 rak'ah, something like this. But unanimously among Muslim scholars, this Taraweeh prayer, it is like, as we said, originally is Qiyamul Layl, does not have a specific numbers. Does not have a specific number.
Okay.
Out of Ramadan or in Ramadan. Even the Prophet, as you know from the hadith, he did not pray more than 11 or 13 rak'ah in Ramadan, including the witr in Ramadan, but not because you cannot pray more than that numbers. Because as you said, in Ramadan it is Qiyamul Layl, out of Ramadan is Qiyamul Layl. So unanimously among Muslim scholars, it is not a prayer that does have a specific number. It's up to you. It's up to the people of that mosque or this masjid or this community. Depends on their energy, their capability, their maybe circumstances, how many rak'ah they would like to pray. And the Sahaba, the followers, they were practicing this unanimous understanding of the Muslim scholars about the numbers of the Taraweeh. It is not a certain numbers. Does not have a specific number. It is the correct Salatul Mutlaqa, absolute, I don't know if this is English,
yes.
Absolute prayer. Does not have a specific or certain numbers. That's why people in Makkah al-Mukarramah, they used to pray on the time of Sayyidina Umar al-Arda anhu, and after Sayyidina Umar, absolutely, definitely, after Sayyidina Umar, 20 rak'ah in Makkah al-Mukarramah.
I see.
Not just 8, or maybe 13, or maybe 15, or maybe something like this. They were praying 20 rak'ah, and then they add witr to it. That way in Medina, on the time of, they call it Imam Dar al-Hijrah, the Imam of the Medina, Al-Imam Malik, rahimahullah ta'ala, they were praying 36 rak'ah.
36.
It is very authentic.
Okay.
They were praying 36 rak'ah in Medina. Why? Subhanallah. Now you look how much their understanding is different than our understanding. How much they were spending their time in something is very useful and very beneficial, and we are wasting our time in something very unuseful. They were saying at that time, the people of Makkah Mukarramah, they are ahead of us because this very the glory place of Makkah Mukarramah. 1 rak'ah in Makkah, 100,000 of rak'ah. 1 hasana equal 100,000 of hasana. So we cannot raise them if we pray the same numbers. Let us increase our numbers. Let us pray more and more. They were praying 36 rak'ah. Try to compete a little bit with the people of Makkah al-Mukarramah. So this is the understanding of the Muslim scholars, unanimous understanding. This is the practice of our Muslim scholars, unanimous practice of Muslim scholars. That means the conclusion of this issue. People, Muslims, brothers, sisters, please go back to this beautiful understanding. Go back to this beautiful philosophy of our Muslim scholars. Just raise yourself, raise others in a good manners, in a good deeds. وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ رَبِّكُمْ وَسَابِقُوا. Make your race in a deed, not an argument, not dispute, not conflict. If this masjid is capable to pray 36 rak'ah, it's okay. Capable to pray 20 rak'ah only, good. They cannot pray 20 rak'ah for many reasons, for any reasons. They want to pray just 8 rak'ah, then to pray witr after that. It's okay. They could do this or choose that. It's up to them, up to their maybe situations, their circumstances, anything like this. It is Islamic, it is Islamic law, confirmation, it is acceptable. But at the same time, they should Muslims turn their attention, their focusing, into the meaning of this Qiyamul Layl, the meaning of Taraweeh. I have witnessed one day in my life in the United States of America, my country, United States of America.
Yes.
I have witnessed this story. I was in the masjid, somewhere. I don't want to name the masjid or name the community, fighting each other, 20 or 8, till a young man, new to Islam, a new Muslim, stood up and screamed and shout, and everyone, brothers, please, cut it off. Islam has told us and taught us that Muslim unity is a must, and Taraweeh is preferable issue.
Subhanallah.
You should not waste the must and mandatory issue toward the preferable issue. Be united. Whatever you pray is good. He's a new Muslim. He's not faqih, he's not jurist, he's not Muslim scholar. But by the simplicity of his acceptance of Islam, he got the sense of Islam itself, very simple and very easy to follow. And that's what we are called every Muslim, inshallah ta'ala. So it's again and again, it is among Muslim scholars unanimous opinion. It is does not have a specific or certain numbers. Whatever number you are able to pray is good and acceptable, inshallah ta'ala. You'd like to pray 100 rak'ah in Ramadan, go for it. But it has to be noticed here that don't enforce someone to accept your opinion or enforce someone to accept your capability. Maybe you are able to pray 100 rak'ah. Someone is not able to pray that. So always follow the majority of Muslims in your community, in your mosque. If most of them they are able to pray 8 rak'ah, pray 8 rak'ah. I pray 8 rak'ah in many places where I go and visit. Sometimes I pray 20 rak'ah. It depends on the people, how they accept this, how they are able to adopt this one or the other one.
I see. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have for this episode. I would like to remind our viewers that they can communicate with us via email, islamiclawtoday@huda.tv. Inshallah, we will answer your questions later on. I would like to thank Professor Muhammad Naimi Saie for his knowledge. And inshallah, we will back very soon, inshallah. Inshallah, till we meet again, astawda'akumullah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Which of Allah's favors can we deny? Above all creatures, He chose us to be high. To Him we belong, to Him is our return. Life in this world is only a sojourn. To the angels He commanded that man be respected. Shaitan he did not, and so was he rejected. Compared to the angels, we are but clay. As long as Allah we obey, we'll not go astray. As the best of His creation, only us did He deem. This for us is honor, this high esteem. His qudrat it is that cause winds to blow. He gives us provision so that we may grow.